I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Punch Drop. It is Monday, August 18th. Kiddos, welcome in. We appreciate you watching and listening, whether it's live or later. We go live every day at 10 a.m. on YouTube and X, also on the Puck Sports mobile app. If you don't have the mobile app, you can download it today to your smartphone. In fact, I was at our good buddy, the old chili parlor, old Mike's chili parlor. Mike was like, can I listen to you live? Now, Mike is not great with technology. Sorry, Mike. Said, of course he can, but he didn't know. And there's many of you who don't know out there. He said, you got an iPhone, Mike? Yeah. Download the Puck Sports mobile app to your iPhone. And you, between the times that we're on live, 10 and 11:30, you can listen to the show live. You don't have to, you don't have to listen there anymore. The Puck Sports mobile app, you can listen to us live. So if you're listening to the podcast later and you're wondering, well, I'm in my car at 10 and I can't listen to the podcast at 10 because you're live, I can't stream it on YouTube. That's why we built it. The Puck Sports mobile app in your car, on the move, on the go. And for Android users, just go to the Google Play Store as well. We've been working out. There's been a lot of issues with the Android version of it, but I think we've figured out most of them. Hopefully, Jacob, our app guy, still working on it. But again, the option is there, the Puck Sports mobile app. And of course, once the show is over, everything is up on the podcast platforms, up on YouTube. Just search Puck Sports. Also on your favorite podcast platforms, and it does not matter which one that you listen on. Every day we broadcast from the Limback Lumber Studios. Big thanks to Limback Lumber being a great sponsor here of the Daily Puck Drop and Puck Sports in general. They're going to take care of you for all of your lumber needs. They got old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. They are the best in the business. When you can, if you can, always try to buy local and buy it from Limback Lumber for all your lumber needs. 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. You can follow me on all the social media platforms. As I mentioned before, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky is Puck Sports. On TikTok, where we put all of our video content, clips of the show. Puck_sports. We do the same thing on Instagram as well. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook. Website, of course, pucksports.com. Sign up. You can go there to pucksports.com, sign up, become a member of the Pucks Posse. Many of you have this past weekend. Thank you so much. And to all of you who have supported the venture, thank you. You get access to everything that we do, including all the free daily content, plus bonus shows that we do every single week. We got 3 bonus shows. We've got the Sports Pit. Steve Sandmeyer, Matt Stretch Johnson comes out on Tuesdays. Our MLB Insider Show with Ryan Divish on Wednesdays. And Thursdays with Mitch, KJ Arntz, Mitch Levy from the Mitch Unfiltered podcast. His free podcast on Mondays is out today. So wherever you find your podcasts, go listen to he and Hotshot Scott on the Mitch Unfiltered podcast. All right, we have a jam-packed show for you today. Jim's still out. He's on vacation, kind of moving his kids around, back from Pullman, now going over to the coast. He may be back with us on Wednesday. I don't know, but definitely I think on Friday. But we have a jam-packed show for you. You can see on the rundown just a ton of guests today. Tim Booth's going to join me in a few minutes. Caught up with Tim earlier today, and it has nothing to do with the Mariners per se, and like how'd they do last night. We'll cover that with Bill Krueger. But it is more just about the experience that he has gone through this weekend with his son, who's a baseball crazed kid. This is kind of every father and son kind of dream weekend, which is what he did this past weekend in Williamsport, covering the Little League World Series Classic between the Mets and the Mariners, spending it with his son, and just describing everything that was going on at Williamsport. Really, really cool. He wrote a great story on Dan Wilson about him being a Little Leaguer at 12, him going back there. They reached the Little League World Series. I think they finished 3rd. And just he does a nice job, a great job this morning as we sat there and talked of giving you all kind of the behind-the-scenes look of what made it so special. So we'll play that for you coming up in about 5 minutes or so. Bill Krueger is back, as he always is on Mondays. Old School Baseball. You can follow him, @oldschool_MLB there on X. And Bill's with us to talk about the Mariners, their last 2 series. Not great against the Orioles and the Mets. Then we're going to do our Northwest College football preview. And I was thinking about this because both schools, local schools, Wazoo and UW, wrapped up their fall camp this past weekend. So I thought, well, let's get the 2 guys on that cover the team, do a great job of covering the team, give a quick little preview of where things stand as they've wrapped up fall camp and getting ready for their season openers. So Jamey Vinnick of CougFan.com will join me. Also, Christian Caple from On Montlake. And you can visit his website, onmontlake.com. And if you're not a subscriber, by the way, I'm a subscriber because I love Christian's work because he does a great job of covering the Huskies, on montlake.com. Also, you can check out his new YouTube page on Montlake there as well. He has videos of himself, breaking down practice, player interviews, coaches interviews, a bunch of great stuff there on montlake.com. And again, if you are a Husky fan or you want great Husky coverage, I can't recommend anyone better than the job that Christian Caple does there for On Montlake. All right, so jammed show for you today. We got lots to cover on. We'll do in other news to wrap it up, and of course, hey, what the puck. But just a few things before we get to Tim Booth's experience there at Williamsport. We'll get into our interviews with Bill Krueger and then Jamey Vinnick and Christian Caple. We'll get into the M's and we'll quickly touch in here on the Seahawks. They were roughed up yesterday. George Kirby did not look good in that game. Bill Krueger is going to go in depth about what led to that. I guess the positive, Cal Raleigh hit his 47th home run. He's now 1 away from Salvador Perez, and his record for home runs by a catcher in the series against the Mets, Raleigh was terrific. He was 7 for 12 with 2 doubles and 2 home runs there. But the offense just being too inconsistent here in both the series against the Orioles and the series against the Mets. They had that one huge breakout offensive game there in the second game against New York. But other than that, they're averaging just a little over 3 runs a game in those 6 games. So not able to get a little bit more distance between themselves and Houston, where they had at one point they had or were tied, but couldn't take advantage of, once they were tied with Houston. So still a game and a half back there of the Astros in the American League West. Astros are going to get some good news because if you were watching MLB Central this morning and just following reports coming out of Houston, sounds like Yordan Alvarez is going to be back this weekend. So again, this is a guy they basically, there's been a zero option for them this year, impact. And now they're getting back one of the most feared hitters in baseball. That no doubt is going to give them a shot in the arm there as they try to win yet another division crown. But Kirby yesterday, I think the mound obviously was not to his liking. He was clear from the get-go on that one. You've heard pitchers talk about that mound. I asked Krueger about that this morning. Did not like probably some of the calls for the home plate umpire. But, his previous 4 starts, he's been great. He had an ERA of 1.44. But yesterday just got too much of the plate. Location was off. 3 walks. He didn't walk anybody ever. But 12 hits, and they were hitting him hard. 12 hits in the 7 earned runs there as the Mariners wrap up their series with the Mets there in Williamsport. And again, dropped 2 or 3 to New York, 2 or 3 there to Baltimore. So again, still that 1.5 games back. They are now tied at the top of the wild card standings as we speak. They will start a series tonight with the Phillies, Logan Gilbert against Ranger Suarez. And as expected, Bryce Miller expected to get the start tomorrow. And then Luis Castillo coming up there on Wednesday. We'll have more on the M's, more in-depth on the M's here with Bill Krueger coming up shortly. Seahawks camping news. I'll give you a little update of what's happening in the Seahawks camp. They had practice over the weekend on Sunday after their second preseason game against the Chiefs. Very good game against the Chiefs on Friday. Another game in which their offensive line and their running game just looked dominant. And I get it. It's not the starters. They're not scheming as much. But you can't, if it was the other way where they weren't running the ball or they didn't look effective, we would kill them on that. we can only just praise for what they've been able to do. 48 carries, 268 yards. The damn near average 6 yards a carry. I mean, it looks freaking awesome what they're doing on the ground. It's pornographic what they're doing on the ground, but they look real good. That offensive line, despite not having Charles Cross there, looks real damn good. Anthony Bradford was graded highly coming out of that game. Abe Lucas looks healthy. Gray Zabel. There's a run early in the game Friday. Must have been Charbonnet, one of the first Charbonnet runs. He just drives his guy like 6 yards off the ball. And they are running a lot to his side, like a lot. That is just God, we've been wanting it so long, just a good offensive line. Boy, they look like they might have the makings for a really, really good one. Sundell has looked great at center. Oluwatimi picked the wrong time to get injured. And but now it's just you have Jalen Sundell's really taken over that spot. They look, it looks real, real good. All the running backs look great. We haven't even seen Ken Walker run behind these guys. We'll see if we see Ken Walker this week as they have that joint practice with the Packers. Mike McDonald said, yeah, he will get some time. Will he play in the game? I don't know. I'm not sure how many guys are going to actually play in that game. But I think right now, as we sit here on Monday, that we know what that offensive line is going to be with Cross at left tackle. He did practice a little bit yesterday, healing from that offseason finger surgery. And then Zabel, Sundell at center. Bradford has locked up the right guard spot. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And then Charles Cross. So the joint practice coming up on Thursday before their last preseason game. You'll see the starters probably do a lot of stuff in the joint practice, including Ken Walker. And I can't wait to see Ken Walker run behind this group. Charbonnet has looked fantastic, and Holani has looked great. Martinez even flashed this last week. But just the offensive system here by Kubiak, for all we can base it on, and again, always say it's preseason, but we can base it on the first two preseason games. They've looked really, really sharp. Update on Tyrese Knight. He's still recovering from that knee injury, as well as an undisclosed medical issue there as well. They hope to have him back for week one. We have talked about this many, many times before. This is the one area that scares me the most, this group, that inside linebacker spot, just because of the depth. Not the talent, but just the depth that they have behind these guys. And a scary moment from that game on Friday was Torrey Horton, walking off and on the sideline with that ankle injury that he sustained. Good news is it's not serious. He did not practice on Sunday, but they don't believe that it's that serious. And how about Jake Bobo looked good too? Jake Bobo looked fantastic in that game. I just like one thing I've noticed in the first two preseason games, the players' interaction with one another. And the offensive side with the defensive side. And they just look like they all kind of enjoy each other. Now, you probably say most teams act that way. Maybe they do. It just seems like this group really enjoys playing for one another. They just have a real good vibe right now going on that sideline. So it's kind of fun to watch. And as we're getting closer and closer to the season starting, might have themselves a pretty good little football team. Defense played a little bit more there in that preseason game there against the Chiefs. Though they looked good. Everyone's looked good, especially the running game. Running game's been fantastic. The offensive line has looked great. Drew Lock has looked good. God, he was 10 of 12, $129, a couple touchdowns. So he's firmly matched, locked in as your second quarterback, your backup quarterback. I'm going to lose my bet with Jim Moore, because in that first series, they brought Jalen Milroe in on that short yardage play, and our bet was it's either the 20 to the 20 or from the 30 to the 30. I can't remember which one. I bet that Milroe will not see the field between, I think it's the 30, between the 30 and the 30. That he'll only come in in the red zone. Most people pan that bet right away, and they're right, because I'm going to lose that because you got their first glimpse of their version of the tush push. I did have someone reach out to me, say we need to rename it. We can't call it the tush push. We got to call it something else. And who was it? Hold on. I'm going to give them full credit for this name, because you know what? It was damn creative and good, I thought. Who is it? Hold on. Just let me scroll here. Sean James, the Seattle Plunge. That's good. Seattle Plunge. Good job, Sean. At Real White Buff. Great Twitter handle there, by the way. The Seattle Plunge. Yeah, so I'm going to send my money right now to Jim on that one. But I'll lose that, but I'm going to win my Cal Raleigh bet. Just the idiotic bet he made. Not going to reach 50 home runs. My God, he might reach 60. Might break Aaron Judge's American League record for home runs. Speaking of the Mariners, just an unbelievable scene yesterday there in Williamsport between the Mariners and the Mets. It was so cool. I was watching all the earlier Little League games, and they're prepping for, when the Mets were coming, and I saw all the interviews with the Mets and all the Brandon Nimmo and all the players interacting with all the Little Leaguers. And then here come the Mariners are coming later. They're on the bus. They got Tim Kirchens on the bus interviewing Julio Rodriguez. He's sitting there with a bunch of guys. They get off the bus. Then they're welcome there as they get off the bus by the team from Bonnie Lake, the Bonnie Lake Sumner team. Congratulations to those kids. They won their elimination game, so they're still alive in the Little League World Series. They were welcomed the squad off the buses. Just such a cool environment. So jealous. I was not there. That was myself and my son. We were going to try and go on that trip, and we ended up not pulling the trigger on it. Now I look back and go, I regret that. We should have made it out there and try to be a part of that somehow, some way. Someone that was there in working capacity is our next guest, Tim Booth of the Seattle Times. He's been sitting in, filling in, and covering the Mariners, helping cover the Mariners for Ryan Divish since he's been out. This is one of his last assignments because, Divish is back, and Adam Jude is also covering the team. He's kind of the 1A of the Mariners coverage. I was going to say backup, but he's not the backup. That's disrespectful to him. But Tim has also been filling in. But this was like Tim's last real fill-in assignment covering the Mariners. And he wanted this one because he wanted to take his son, to Williamsport, and then they were going to then go to Cooperstown. So I caught up with Tim this morning from a coffee shop in Cooperstown, and I wanted to get Tim's perspective, not only for someone who loves baseball, not even from a perspective of a reporter, but a perspective from a father who got to cover a really cool event with his kid in tow. Here he is, Tim Booth of the Seattle Times, joining us on the Daily Puck Drop and PuckSports.com. Booth from the Seattle Times joins us right now. Follow Tim on X at Tim Booth. He's in a coffee shop someplace back east. He got to live out a dream is what he got to do this week. I wanted to get you on, Tim. I don't really want to talk about the Mariners at all. This is about a father-son. What was it like covering that Little League Classic on Sunday with your son alongside it? Well, that must have just been an awesome experience.
So you ask where I am. I'm in a coffee shop in Cooperstown. We drove last night from after the game from Williamsport to Wilkes-Barre, and then got up this morning and just rolled into to Cooperstown. So we're going to the Hall of Fame this afternoon. So to do the Little League World Series and to do Cooperstown on back-to-back days. I don't know for someone who grew up loving baseball as much as I did, and for my son who loves baseball as much as he does, to have back-to-back days like that it doesn't get any better than that kind of opportunity, just to do something cool like that with your kid.
What was it like being in there? What was it like just covering a Major League Baseball game in that type of atmosphere?
It was refreshing. We get so cynical about the team and about, the moves that Dan Wilson makes, or, is Julio doing what he needs to do? Why are they striking out? Like we get so caught up in the day-to-day of what happens to, the baseball team and the success that they're having, that when you get into a situation like that, what they went through yesterday, it sort of just reminds you of the simplicity of the game and the joy of the game. And I think that's probably the thing that I took away most from yesterday was, when I'm old and curmudgeon-y and a little bit more like Divish than, as Divish is right now, I need to take a step back and go spend a day at the Little League World Series, because you walk in the door there, or you walk in the gates there, and it's like just the kid in you returns, and you just love everything about it. And of course, it's been commercialized, and of course, it's been probably overexposed. And we could go into this whole thing about how youth sports is out of control in terms of the costs and everything. But to walk into that venue yesterday and just see all these kids losing their absolute minds at seeing these major league players walk around them and just be with them and spend time with them and even just say hi to them. It's incredibly refreshing for someone who, you get caught up so much in the day-to-day grind of doing the job and being a professional and all that. I think it was refreshing for the players. I know for myself, it was incredibly refreshing to have that opportunity yesterday to be there. And then, like you said, like I had my son alongside with me. Like we're standing at the top of the hill behind Lomity Stadium, taking pictures before we left yesterday. We're sitting in me and him sat down next to Rick Riz and watched a little bit of the game between the West team and I think it was the team from the Great Lakes. Like, just you can't replace those kind of memories and those kind of opportunities when something like this comes about.
How did the players react to all of it?
So, look, in reality, I think I shouldn't say a lot. I know a few of the guys were annoyed with how the logistics of it all played out. Sure. In terms of they flew in yesterday morning, they play a game that started at 7:45 last night. They probably didn't get to Philadelphia until sometime around 1 or 1:30, and then they have to play again today. So I know there was a few guys that were kind of annoyed by that. So if I'm MLB, maybe in the future, I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to make it just logistically a little bit better, or maybe give the team a day off the day after they participate in this. But that being said, every guy I talked to absolutely loved going there and the interactions they had with the kids. And I think all those guys really bought into the idea of the outreach part of it and being there and genuinely interacting with the kids. And going and watching Julio slide down the hill on the cardboard. One was terrifying because a security guard who was trying to help control the crowd around him ended up sliding into him.
Almost takes him out.
It was unbelievable seeing that.
Can you imagine if that security guard, if people haven't seen the video, slides into Julio. Julio doesn't get out of the way or doesn't react in time, and that security guard somehow takes out his ACL. The Little League World Series, this game is over. Well, at least they'll never let those players go up on that hill ever again.
Oh, without question.
Oh.
And the worst part about it was I was standing there taking video, and I stopped my video when Julio got to the bottom and kind of turned half to focus on, I think it was Gabe Spire or someone else who was going down. And then all of a sudden I hear this commotion around. I turn back and I see the security guard, as they had just slid right into Julio's legs or whatever. I was like, oh my God. Having him roll an ankle or whatever, that would have made for a nightmare situation.
It would have been terrible.
But the way the other part of that really stood out to me was the way the kids, when he said he walked out of the stadium and you could tell people were kind of trying to follow him a little bit, and the second everyone realized where he was going, it was it was. I don't have a good description, comparison for it, but remember in Forrest Gump when everyone just started to run behind him as he was running down? It was like that. Everyone just gathered around Julio and started following him like he was, the band leader essentially, and walking up behind the stadium to go up the hill. So the guys really did a good job, I thought, of being there and truly interacting with those kids. I think Cal signed 1 million autographs. I went up to him after we got to the stadium before the game, and I was like, dude, do you have a hand cramp? Because every time I turned around, I was like, Cal signing something, Cal signing something, Cal signing something. The reaction for him versus there was a big reaction for all the guys. The reaction for Cal was incredible. If you wanted a a good idea of how much he has sort of captured the baseball fan with what he's been doing this year, and then throw in the nickname. Like, that was the best example that I've been around. Just every kid screaming "Cal, Cal, 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 Cal" as they were walking up from the parking lot to get up to the stadium. It was just a really cool experience. I think it was a cool experience for the guys. I think it kind of just brings the kid back out in you a little bit. It grounds you a little bit. And so I really hope MLB figures out a way to keep this going, because I think it's one of the really cool things that they have going on right now is this game and this opportunity.
When are you going to release the video of you going down said hill? You said you are not going to let your son release it. Well, come on.
You remember the old Snoopy, Charlie Brown, cartoons, and when Charlie Brown would be pitching and someone would hit a liner back up the middle and all you saw was like Charlie Brown's shoes and his feet over the top of his head and just crap, stuff flying everywhere.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good example. That's a pretty good comparison. I mean, we're talking feet in the air, hat going one way, sunglasses going the other way. I had a little backpack on, and for some dumb reason, I thought, oh, maybe I need to have my laptop with me. So I had my laptop in this little backpack, and I get up, I'm covered in dirt. Like last night when I got to the hotel, I'm like taking off my socks, and there's still grass that was in my shoes and socks from that. It's and the best part about it, and I probably will post it at some point, but the best part about it is my son, when we're at the top of the hill, as I'm just starting to inch my old ass to go down the hill, he goes, well, they'll be playing this at your funeral. And then not even 15, 20 seconds later, I'm just ass over tea kettle, and I'm just, it was an absolute mess. But you know what? I'm 47. When the hell else am I ever going to be in Williamsport to have that opportunity? I was like, why not? Yes, my ankle hurts today. My arm is completely skinned up. But you know what? I'm happy I did it, even though I made an ass of myself.
Yeah, well, you got to experience something really cool for any dad who loves baseball, and especially for you to cover the sport and then spend that time with your son. And now you're in Cooperstown today, and I believe you might fill in every now and again, but that was kind of it for you, right? It's kind of now just the Divish and Adam Jude show, and I know those guys would say the same thing. You did a hell of a job covering the team and helping out, and I know you're taking a little time off. Go enjoy Cooperstown with your son, and best on the rest of the trip. Tim, thanks so much for doing it, and just it was fun to read along and follow along just your adventures back there, and it was just incredible stories that you wrote about, the experience from all the players to Dan Wilson, and including your own experience. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate the time today.
Yep, thanks, Buck. Appreciate it, man.
You got it. Tim Booth, Seattle Times. Follow him on Twitter at @ByTimBooth. And, of course, read all of his work up at seattletimes.com. Yeah, big thanks for Tim of carving out some time this morning as he was traveling to Cooperstown with his son after being in Williamsport yesterday. And, again, just Major League Baseball, and everyone's got their issues with all these sports, but what Major League Baseball does in these types of scenarios and these types of moments is better than any other league. And there's no other league that connects family, kids, and adults better than this sport. It's just, the NFL does not have that. Hockey does not have that. Basketball does not have that. Not like what you saw yesterday. And maybe these other leagues will try to recreate it. I would doubt that they could be able to ever capture what baseball can. It's ingrained. It's in the fabric of families and everyone that loves the sport. So really cool that Tim got to do all of that, sit in the stands with his son, who's, again, is just a huge, huge baseball fan, played baseball all growing up, loves the sport and all that. To sit there and watch those games take place, to watch the kids. There was a great interview during the game. They sat with one of the kids from Team Mexico. God, that guy was great. That kid was so damn funny. He stole the damn show. He was so good. They showed him hit his home run. I think it was his game-winning home run on the mound. And what a thrill for that team to sit there and go and meet Randy Arozarena. They did the pose. They wore the cowboy hat. And then to talk to Andres Munoz and Matt Brash and all those, and Josh Naylor meeting with Team Canada. Very, 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 very cool. It was just well done by everyone involved there in Major League Baseball. Go read all of Tim's accounts in the paper today, SeattleTimes.com. Pick up a hard copy. He did a great job of detailing it, how the players felt about it. Wonderful write-up over the weekend, too, that was in the Sunday paper about Dan Wilson. Dan Wilson's team, when he was 12 years old from Illinois, played in it. They finished third, I believe. And so that was the first time he had gone back to Williamsport since he played in the Little League World Series. All right, Bill Krueger, Old School Baseball, joins me every single Monday. We get into the weeds in depth on the baseball team, who in the last two series have not played great, especially from an offensive standpoint, minus one game. Is there panic in the straits? Bill Krueger, again, host of Old School Baseball Podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts, and follow him on Twitter/X. I say Twitter sometimes and I say X. I can never remember which one to say. At @oldschool_MLB. We talk about that scene in Williamsport, him growing up playing Little League, George Kirby. We get into that. Last two series. Looking ahead to this upcoming week, and Bryce Miller potentially getting the nod tomorrow. Here is my weekly conversation with Bill Krueger, Old School Baseball, here on the Daily Puck Drop and pucksports.com. Before, though, we hear from Bill Krueger, let's hear from two of our great sponsors who have been with us for a very long time, John Howie Steak and Georgetown Brewery. Excellence in dining? Visit John Howie's Steak, an experienced premier Northwest diner. Prime custom aged steaks, award-winning wine, unmatched level of service. You won't be disappointed. Make your next reservation today at johnhowiesteak.com.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer, your new locally brewed domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
Here he is. There he is. Well, let me start again. That was stupid. Bill, how are you? Old School Baseball, host of the fabulous podcast. And, of course, you can follow Bill on social media at oldschool_MLB. Hey, let's start with this first. That was just an amazingly cool scene Sunday that the Mariners got to be involved in there at Williamsport. God, that was cool. I watched so much of it, pregame stuff, them coming off the buses. But what an atmosphere.
That's true Americana. Williamsport is it's sort of Cooperstown in a different setting. It doesn't recognize the greatest players of all time. It brings together the youth that are the best in the country, and they've just done such a great job of creating this experience over a few weeks there at Williamsport. And then you splice in a Major League Baseball game with Major League Baseball players, and it's just kids wide-eyed and excited, and big leaguers acting like they're 12. I mean, they think they're 12 again. You know, baseball. The thing is it's so funny. That's one thing that I enjoyed when Julio was talking about. He never really lost the kid in himself when he plays, and that was evident when you watched him interact. And it's just in his voice, it's in his smile, it's real to him that this scene was all about what he loves and how much he loves kids and how he thinks he's still a kid playing ball, which I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it was great. I just thought both teams were awesome, how they handled it. Yeah, it's just such a reminder of the sport. No other sport does a better job than baseball with this and kids, and it just was. I don't know. I bet for them it was probably emotional to go through it because I think all of them remember what it was like to be those kids that they interacted with on Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. I think they all were able to go back in time. Of course, there was lots of pics of these guys when they were their age. You know, they were no different. Mm-hmm. Although the uniforms have gotten a little better. They've gotten a little better, but yeah, I think you've hit it right on the money. And I think baseball gets a bit of a black eye, like somehow nobody's playing baseball anymore. Kids aren't playing baseball anymore. It couldn't be further from the truth. Lots of kids are playing baseball. Baseball is a great game, and so this is a great way to remind people that that are running to these other sports and thinking that baseball's dead and all that. It's not. It couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, it was. I mean, everything from sliding down the hill that they did, and just the interactions like Andres Munoz in a Rose Arena had with the team from Mexico, that Matt Brash and Josh Naylor took time out to go speak to the team from Canada. It was cool. I like how they did the broadcast. They're just sitting in the stands, got kids behind Carl Ravitch making faces. It was just a really, really cool scene. And you nailed it with Julio. I think with him, he just plays the game, and you said it earlier, like he's still 12. And I love when they asked all the players, hey, if you weren't playing baseball, what would you do? And they all gave all their answers, and Julio's like, I don't know. There was no plan B. This was it. This was all I was thinking about.
It's a binary option. It's either, you're working some manual job in the DR, or you're playing big league baseball.
Yeah, what was Bill Krueger like as a 12-year-old little league baseball player?
Very skinny, awkwardly skinny, arms that scratch the kneecaps. But a kid that really, baseball was an everyday thing, in a different way. It was going early to this gentleman by the name of Al Groschi. He was an older gentleman. He had a program not too far from our house in different parks across Waukegan, Illinois, suburb of Chicago. And he would show up at my park 2 or 3 times a week in the morning. And you'd get there, and he'd have one of these station wagons that never ended, those 60 station wagons. He'd open it up and get the equipment out. And the first hour, he'd teach us fundamentals. And it's an all-comers deal. And then he split us up when we'd play. That's how you're picking up experience. Then you go home and eat lunch, and then we'd find our gang of guys, whoever that is that day, and go down to the closest park to our house in our neighborhood and play some more. Because we got maybe 12 little league games, right? And no vision beyond that. It was just sort of in the moment. And then we're doing whatever. We're playing 500 in the street. We're playing pickle in somebody's front yard. We're playing wiffle ball in somebody's backyard. It was just organic, and wonderful. And you were just imitating your heroes. You didn't have a personal coach, and we didn't have $100 uniforms, and we weren't playing 80 games all corners of the state. That wasn't happening. All-Stars, we'd get to go a little bit further away from our town and play. And I remember the first game we played under the lights. I mean, these are things that they're just bright and real, and they just come in living color in my mind.
Good player? Were you immediately one of the better players on the team?
I was a good player. Early on when I was 10, I was a little immature to be with a 10-12 team, but I found my spot as a pitcher, and they liked my pitching. And I played center. I was a good defender, but I wasn't a very good hitter at the beginning because I was so skinny and not so strong. But as time wore on, I was a center fielder pitcher, and a good hitter, but not a great hitter. But loved the game, right? Yeah. That was the thing. I loved playing defense. I loved making the diving catch. That's what I remember about playing Little League baseball, was getting that play where you had to make a dive and catch the ball. I mean, I just loved that. That was just my favorite thing about baseball.
How far did you guys get? Do you remember how far you got as a little leaguer?
There wasn't any ascending. I don't remember anything about us moving on.
Okay.
Maybe I just didn't realize we were actually in the loop, but no, there was no Williamsport discussion that I remember at all. It ended with All-Stars, and I think I was an All-Star the last 2 years, and then we got to go to some parks that were a little bit further away and play against some other teams, but I never thought or even realized that there could be a Williamsport path. I'm old now, Jason. We're talking about baseball in the 60s now. I'm a creaky old guy.
Stop. You're not that old. Well, it wasn't the best of weeks. I mean, they've now lost 2 straight series. Baltimore and the Mets, and boy, it's just the offense so inconsistent. Other than that, just that one breakout game against the Mets, The offense, Bill, has just been non-existent in the last 2 series.
It's tough to put your finger on it. Raleigh had a big series against the Mets, and Rodriguez had a good series against Baltimore, and actually been pretty offensively strong the whole road trip, but not a whole lot else. Naylor was so good, and then he hurt his shoulder back in Seattle, and he hasn't been quite the same since. Now, whether that has anything to do with it, who's to say? Rosarena's been a little bit quiet. They've got some. The bottom of the order's had some decent moments. They're kind of they're a home run hitting team. I mean, they're not beat you with 1,000 paper cuts kind of team,
right.
A relentless kind of pressure team. That's not who they are. Even though they run good, they don't put the ball in play and really pressure on your defense. Okay, they want to hit a 3-run homer and pitch you into the ground. That's who they are. Now they got a lineup that can come out and stick it to you. We saw that, in that one game against the Mets. They came out and said, we can stick it to you. And they can. And that's a good thing. Because you think about our team over a long expanse of when they've gotten better, even prior to that, never scored the first 6 innings. Never scored the first 6 innings. No, never hit the starter. Never hit the starter. This team could hit the starter and put some points up. So it's the dog days of summer. Okay, it's putting pressure on pitching. This is not the zenith time of pitching. Okay. Now, granted, Baltimore pitched good in their series, and a couple guys pitched good for the Mets. To their credit, overall, the Mariners pitching and starting pitching, they got beat this trip so far. I mean, there's been some moments, but Kirby pitched great in Baltimore. Wu pitched great against New York. But outside of that, it hasn't been like we're starting pitching's better than yours, we win.
Yeah.
That hasn't been the case. That doesn't mean it can't happen, but they're playing pretty good competition. The Mets are good. The Mets have been losing, but they're good. That's a good lineup. A lot of left-hand hitting. That makes it tough for us. We do not when you stack it with some pretty good left-hand hitters, we'll handle it, but that's it. And so Philadelphia's going to present more offense in a hot park. So you got to come to play.
What led to Kirby's struggle so much on Sunday?
He wasn't super sharp. He looked like he had good stuff. Good left-hand hitting. And, he's got to come up with something. He's got a above-average fastball, not elite, and he couldn't get to the top line, and his breaking balls blend. Is it a slider or a curveball? We don't know. It's 84, 85, 86, 87. It's a slider or a curveball. It's a curveball or a slider. We don't know which one it is. It's the same pitch. And then change-up-wise, he doesn't throw it enough, and he's got to kill it some more. He needs something that's like 80, 82, whether that's a slower curveball or he needs to pull the string and throw that changeup more. He needs to throw that changeup more. Holmes, you watch Holmes pitch? Holmes outpitched him. Holmes got a little more sink on his ball. He doesn't have as good an arm, but his changeup, you saw it. He had a good four-seam changeup, or he called it a kick change or whatever. It's a grip situation, whatever you want to call it. It's a circle change. We just want to come up with all these names, so it's like, wow, that's cool. That's a cool name. Whatever. It's a circle change he's turning over. But that just goes to show you to see how he could neutralize guys on the fastball. George needs to work on that. George needs to go out and play catch every day in the outfield and work on his circle change and throw it again and again and again and again and again, and he's got to get it in the game. Yeah. That's, he made it, Vientos hit the home run on a high fastball. That's a strong kid that hasn't hit this year. He got some pop the other way. But, he just lack of location, can't win at the top line. Lots of left-hand hitting, dog days of summer, good offensive team. I don't know. Tally it up. He walked 3. We never see him do that.
No,
I think he needs a speed changer. He needs a change-up. And it doesn't have to be, I get tired of it has to win. It has to strike him out. It has to be a whiff. No, it doesn't. It's a 1-1, 2-1, 1-0 pitch that you throw, and it comes off the bat line, and a guy hits a weak grounder. That's the winning pitch. That's a winning changeup.
What is that? So is that the changeup for him? Is that the specific pitch you would like?
He's throwing away the split. I mean, I don't know if I think he still grips the split, but he's not throwing the split. He's throwing the circle change, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Circle change, taking the big finger off the ball, and I'm fine with that. I think that's a good direction to go. But it's a touch pitch. You have to work at it. It can't be the pitch of last resort. Even though if I look in the mirror, that's what it was for me. But I had a curveball that was a little bit, I could get away with it a little bit because my curveball was a speed changer and a lane changer, so I could get away with it. But yeah, I mean, I think George needs to improve his changeup, and that will make him better on average days. It's so important when on average day you need that pitch.
Yeah, and it just seemed like he there was a few calls he didn't agree with.
Sure.
It felt like he let the home plate umpire kind of get to him a little bit. I don't know if he didn't like the mound. They talked about during the broadcast that there was some pitchers don't like the mound there. He kind of kicked at the mound a few different times. So I don't know if it was just one of those things too. He just couldn't kind of control his emotions throughout the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are things that you have to. They're part of the intangibles, the stress that you have to, get over. You have to be mentally tough enough to persevere over that. Yeah, the mound looked flat, and umpiring was a little bit not real working with the pitcher kind of umpiring. So, but.
Hey, Bill, when the mound is, because when you mentioned that, because it looked extremely flat. When it is flat, what does that do to a pitcher? How does that affect someone, all of them, but maybe specifically Kirby?
Well, he's an over-the-top guy. He's a big, tall guy. He's trying to take advantage of the downhill plane. And what happens on a flat mound is your foot hits before you're ready. Your foot should hit. It hits too soon, and it kind of forces you to get. It's harder to get the ball down on a flat mound, believe it or not.
Okay.
Because you're landing a little too soon, and you're losing the leverage that you have in a taller mound. Now, I'm sure there's a spec thing. See, here's the deal. You could put the rubber and say the rubber's at the right position above the ground, but if the mound doesn't have the right slope, then you don't get the advantage of the slope. In other words, it's a little bit Charlie Brownish. It's a little bit of a round dirt hill, instead of being something that's like, here's the rubber and you want to land down here. And instead of landing there, you're landing here. It's flatter.
Yeah.
Now they could tell me, oh, the rubber's the same spot, but you're not going downhill.
Well, let's see if it was just the one start from his previous 4 starts. He had an ERA of under 2, so he was certainly good in those games. And you mentioned the Baltimore one earlier. Mm-hmm. Baltimore did the Mariners a favor by taking 2 out of 3 against Houston. I mean, they just obliterated Houston, especially in the Sunday finale. We look ahead to the coming week here of baseball. They get Philly, then they'll return home for the A's, and then maybe we get a World Series preview there. With the San Diego Padres. What's important for them? They're in this stretch right now. What's the most important thing as they continue to battle Houston, in which they trail the Astros now by a game and a half? I mean, this is going to go down to the wire, neck and neck of these two teams the rest of the season, Bill.
Well, I think they're still kind of getting to know who they are offensively with new players. They continue to need to see their starting pitching carry the game. It was a good sign to see Gilbert get more efficient, throw more fastballs, got into the 7th inning. They pulled the plug on him. That was an interesting call. Interesting call for Dan right there. He gives up a home run the 7th, and then he gets an out, then he gives up a hit, and then Dan pulls the plug on him 79 pitches and goes lefty, and they switch. They pinch hit, and the guy hits a triple. We gaff the throw, and the game's over. But Gilbert looks much better, a lot more fastballs, a lot more willingness to throw the fastball for a strike and let him put it in play. Let him sounds like the wrong word. You're trying to hit a spot where he's not going to be able to handle you very good, and being able to allow and not worry that you don't have to strike out the world. So that was good. Yeah. Castillo got his lunch the other day. They're trying to give him an extra day to kind of find the extra gear in his fastball. But hey, look, sometimes you're just going to have to pitch down. You're going to have to get better with your other pitches. Castillo needs to get better with his other pitches. He's going to have a tough time with lefties. And Rue is just, he's pitching with so much confidence. Oh my gosh. He is just out there with his shoulders back and says, I'm better than all you guys. I am better. And he does it with two pitches, if you want to call it that. 2 different fastballs. He's got that low release point, and guys can't find him. They can't find him. It's just remarkable. Now, he hits his spots, and his ball does move, and he's got some juice. But it's just remarkable. That low release point, pitching uphill, breaking all the rules. but he hits spots and he's tough to hit. And it's become pretty evident he's their number one guy. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in the American League. Logan Evans is now on the DL. I mean, I guess, or DL, IL. Now, Bryce Miller's coming back to start, I assume. So that'll be an interesting thing that's coming down the pike
on
to see
Tuesday.
if he can pitch more than 5 innings.
Yeah, what are your expectations? I was going to wrap up with that. What are your expectations for him? No, it's fine. That's fine. No. You're good. You knew what I was going to ask you. What are your expectations for Miller?
I think good. I think it's more about endurance. Can he endure? Can he carry the game? Can he get past 5? I mean, this isn't participation, spring training. Hey, let's just go out there and give us 60 pitches and then go run laps in center field. This is not spring training, okay? This is the games. You got to come in ready to go. You got to give us 6. Do I think he's got the stuff? And I think what I've seen and heard, he's ready to go. It's going to be like, does the inflammation kick up? Mm-hmm. Is that going to happen again? Because he's got the spur there and it's not leaving. The spur's not going anywhere. Can he manage the inflammation, and can he maintain and be able to pitch and give this team, 5-6 innings? I mean, you need to have that, otherwise the bullpen gets tested. It's the cast of 1,000 faces. And when you have the cast of 1,000 faces, you throw enough risk at the game, you're going to get nailed. And we've talked about that. And I don't want to pick on those guys because they're having pretty good seasons. Luzardo's having a pretty good season, more than pretty good. And Vargas has had a very good season. I like Jackson Kowar. I know he gave up a 3-run homer in Baltimore, but you saw him yesterday. He struck out Lindor and he struck out Pete Alonso. He wiped him out. He's got good stuff. I don't know why they don't like him. But you don't want to keep testing that group. Okay. We need the starters to be the calling card. They need 6+. Let's go. That's what they're there for.
All right, there you go. Bill Krueger, host of the Old School Baseball Podcast. Find it anywhere you find your podcast. Also, check him out on social media on X. He does videos every single day talking baseball. _MLB. Thank you, Mr. Krueger. We will chat next week. Bill just got out of there. He's like, I've had enough of you. I'm done. Big thanks to Bill. And again, every Monday with us, Bill Krueger, Old School Baseball Podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts, including this episode. He puts up there as well. Also on social media at _MLB. Great stuff there on George Kirby. Wanting him to use the changeup more. Great perspective on the Little League World Series Classic. Echo what he said about Julio. I don't think anybody embraced it. I mean, they all embraced it. But Julio just has this immense gift to act like a kid. I mean, he's young and but there's a part of him. It's weird for some fans. It rubs the wrong way of how he acts on the field. His interaction with Juan Soto when Soto was on second base. But that's a quality that is endearing so much there from Julio Rodriguez. Good stuff, as always, there from Bill Krueger, and they get set to take on the Phillies today with Logan Gilbert on the mound. As expected, we should see Bryce Miller tomorrow, then Luis Castillo there on Wednesday. Then they come back home to take on the A's, and you never know, the Vetter Cup, it could be a World Series preview there against the San Diego Padres. All right, coming up, we still have in other news to get you up to date on. Also, hey, what the puck? But before we do that, fall camp has wrapped up for both the Cougars and the Huskies. And I thought, well, what better time to get on to incredible reporters who do a great job of covering both teams. Jamey Vinnick of CougFan.com, who, of course, covers the Cougs, and Christian Caple from On Montlake. You can check out his Substack on montlake.com. He also has a YouTube page on Montlake. Two of the very best covering the Cougs and the Huskies. So fall camp is wrapped up. Season is less than 2 weeks away from getting underway, with the Cougars taking on Idaho and the Huskies taking on Colorado State. So what are the strengths of both teams? Quarterback decisions for one. UW has their quarterback. How has he looked? How is Jimmy Rogers going to fare in his first full season at the helm from South Dakota State? What are some changes that Christian Caple has seen in year 2 under Jed Fish? Hopefully you enjoy this. It's our Northwest College Football Preview Show. Jamey Vinnick of CougFan.com. Also, Christian Caple from OnMontlake.com. But before we talk to those guys, let's get a word from another great sponsor. Speaking of college football, no better place to go on a Saturday. You could go every single day, but there's no better place to go on Saturdays than Flatstick Pub. FlatstickPub.com. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flatstick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flatstick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flatstick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flatstick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. Jamey Vinnick of CougFan.com joins us right now. Of course, you can follow Jamey on X at Jamey Vinnick 9. All right, Jamey, what do we know of a fall football camp? Let's just start with this biggest question. Everybody wants to know who the starting quarterback is going to be. He's not going to reveal his hand, but what says Jamey Vinnick of the new Cougars quarterback?
In my opinion, I think it'll be Xavier Eckhouse. Now that, as you said, he's not revealing his hand. There is nothing he has said, Jimmy Rogers has said or done that alludes anything to that. That is just kind of my interpretation based off performances in fall camp, who looked best when the quarterbacks went live, who has the most experience. I think when it's all said and done, the guy who runs out on the field against Idaho will be Eckhouse.
Yeah. How are the other guys? Who is the closest on his heels, Jamey?
I would say both. I would honestly say all 3 had good camps. I mean, it was not. I kind of thought at first, all right, he's just saying this is a competition. It was a legit competition. I mean, Duggar and Shepard, you see a lot of the athleticism and why they got recruited. Potter had his best stretch of practices since he got here in 2023. So I would say Duggar was probably pushing him the most, just in terms of what he's able to do with his speed, with some of his plays that he can make on the run. But all 3 had good camps. All 3 did some things where you're like, okay, that's pretty impressive.
Jamey, what about Jackson Potter?
Yeah, I think he had his best stretch of practices since he's gotten to Wazoo. He looked really good throwing the ball. He connected on some really deep passes. I think he was kind of the guy that now maybe was just the formality that he was involved, but he looked really good. And is certainly a guy I think that when you look at this competition, that'll probably happen again next year, very much a factor.
Yeah. What so far, what you've been able to see, what should fans expect to see from this offense, and how vastly different will it look to what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's not the air raid, right? It's not 50 or 60 throws a game. It's not a pure passing offense. But at the same time, it's not triple option. It's not Georgia Tech or Air Force where they're going to run it 57 times. I mean, it's going to be balanced. I think there's going to be a lot of use of the tight ends. That's kind of been an emphasis in camp. I think they're going to do a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of deception. There's going to be a lot of things that keep defenses off balance. I think that's the biggest thing that stood out. And then I think there's an emphasis on being able just to get the ball out and get it into the hands of the guys who make the play. So getting it to Angel Johnson, getting it to Devin Ellison. I don't know how much of a vertical game there will be compared to years past. It'll still be a part of it. But what I always kind of liken it to is, you look at the way the 49ers ran their offense with Brock Purdy at quarterback. You have a zillion weapons. His job, catch the snap cleanly, get it to one of those weapons. I think it's kind of going to be in that mold.
Yeah. What the current strength of the team, what you've been able to witness, what would you tell people of the strength of this football team, at least what you've seen so far going into that opener against Idaho?
I think the pass rush is going to be pretty ferocious. I mean, they were getting home a lot. And now some of that, you say, oh, is that an offensive line issue? I don't necessarily think it is. I think just the way that Jesse Bobbitt draws up his blitz packages, and I think some of the guys they have up front and just some of the tenacity they play with, I think it's going to be a good year for getting after the quarterback. And then I think the other part of that is you've got good play in the secondary. You've got good cornerbacks. You've got good safeties. You got a really good safety. So I think the defense as a whole is probably going to be a strength. which is, obviously kind of ironic to say after it was such a weakness the last couple of years.
What the Keith Brown injury, how significant is that for that defense, and who slides into his spot?
Yeah, it obviously it hurts to lose. Good leader, good experience. I think Anthony Polano was going to start anyways. That is at least my personal feeling. They were battling all spring, and it felt like in the fall, even before Brown got hurt, Polano had started to take the edge. So you'll see him with McKenna at will and Franzel at Sam. And I think the guy who will probably get a bigger role now is freshman Sullivan Schlimgen. He's probably going to step into that number 2 Mike role with Polano taking the bulk of the reps. But I think you'll see him a little bit. He had a really good fall camp. Really fast, really noticeable, the type of guy who, okay, he's ready to play now.
What is it in the last thing? Well, I got 2 more things real quick. What's the dynamic been from the leftover players, not many, and then all the players from South Dakota State? How have they meshed?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, you just look back to the spring, and I think Zevi said it, it doesn't matter where they came from. They're all playing under one uniform. So obviously I don't see these guys outside of the practice field. I don't know who they're hanging out with, but just in the way that you see it on the field, you can't tell who was a South Dakota State guy and who wasn't. And part of it is, too, there's a lot of other new faces that weren't South Dakota State guys. I mean, there's a ton of transfers, a ton of freshmen, et cetera, but I have not seen any indication of that it's cliquey. I mean, you obviously see guys gravitate towards each other. Cale Reeder, Matt Durrance, Tucker Large, you can tell these guys have been playing together a long time. They're usually on the sidelines together. They're usually talking to each other, but they're also talking to the guys who were here last year. Some of the Wazoo returners, the Ko Patus, and so on. So it's not cliquey, at least to my eyes, on the practice field.
And then last thing for you, Jamey, what you look ahead to the season? What do you think is a realistic record, a prediction heading into the year?
12-0. I would say I think you're probably looking anywhere between. I think 6-6, 7-5 is kind of where I settle at. I think obviously it's not a particularly easy schedule. I think you're going to have to pretty much clean sweep at home because there aren't a lot of easy road games. I mean, even the road games that aren't Ole Miss and Virginia are still very tough. In fact, I was writing last night, I think James Madison's their second toughest game after Ole Miss, all things considered. So I think if they can get to a bowl game, they can take care of business at home, maybe surprise a team on the road. I think you're probably looking in that 6-7 win mold, get yourself to a bowl and kind of build on that for next year.
There he is, Jamey Vinnick, CougFan.com, does a great job of covering the Cougs. Go check him out. If you don't have a subscription, get it one today at CougFan.com and follow Jamey on X at Jamey Vinnick9. Thanks, Jamey. We'll catch up later in the year. Appreciate it. All right, from a Cougar perspective there with Jamey Vinnick of CougFan. Now we bring on Christian Caple on Montlake. Go visit onmontlake.com. Subscribe today, by the way. Also, you can find On Montlake there on YouTube and follow Christian on X at Christian Caple. Anybody can be a subscriber, even if you're a Coug fan like me. See, I'm going to get caught up. I want the very best in coverage, and that's our guy, Christian Caple. And he's got a great hat on, a Tacoma Rainiers hat, because he's Tacoma through and through. Christian, how are you, sir?
I'm well. You reminded me I need a new hat. My wife gets me one like every year, either for my birthday or Christmas, but I think we've maybe missed one. So I like this one though. So it's a good one to be stuck with.
It's a great looking hat. All right, I want to jump right into it. Fall camp is over for the Huskies. I'm curious, how was year 2? Looked any changes different there for Jed Fish and his coaching staff now as they've kind of got their feet under them here a little bit?
It feels very different than last year. Much was made last season. I pointed this out a few times. Much was made last season about the fact that they added 40 new scholarship players, which is a lot. I think they added 44 this offseason. But it doesn't feel like it, because 27 of those guys, I think, are true freshmen who are, recruited the old-fashioned way, who are, what new players should be. And they actually return a lot of, contributors and guys you've heard of, Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston. And even though DeMond Williams, I don't know that we'd say he's a returning starter. He did start 2 games last year, but you've been hearing about him for so long. And the transfers they brought in are all veterans who have played a good deal at the FBS level for the most part. So it's a different vibe. Like I don't know that anyone other than the Joel Klatts of the world are looking at this as like a playoff team. And even that, to be fair to Joel Klatt, it was a dark horse pick. But I think there's a quiet confidence in the building that they can be pretty good on the high end if they live up to their potential. Whereas last year, I think everyone was kind of on the same page. They were rebuilding.
What's the growth though of what you saw last year in the bowl game, and then what you saw in glimpses when he took the field of Damon Williams? I mean, there's a lot of hype around him, and for good reason, Christian. I mean, you can see the skill set and the explosiveness and the dynamics that he brings to the football field as a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, from day one of fall camp, preseason camp, training camp, you could tell it's his offense. He's the starting quarterback, and maybe that's a small thing, but I do think that kind of goes to the way that Jedd Fisch has talked about him literally since before he'd started a game last year, that like, hey, 2024 season ends, Damon Williams Jr. is the face of the program. He's the guy. You're putting everything on him. And so just the way he moves guys around and the way he communicates with other offensive players. I saw him a couple times, grab receivers to refine a route after practice type of thing. You could tell he's, they're really trying to like bring him along in that leadership role, which might not be the most natural thing for a 19-year-old when you got guys older than you and suddenly you're the one that everybody's looking to. But I think it suits him well. And then, yeah, I mean, he's a very accurate passer. I think Jedd Fisch has probably encouraged him to not take off and run so much in practice when that's not doing a whole lot for you. You can't get hit anyway. So why don't you sit back there and try to find guys open, which I think is probably Damon Williams' preference anyway. If anything, the weakness last year was he holds on to the ball too long, right? And doesn't want to give up on a play or bail but I can still complete a pass, Russell Wilson type thing. So that'll be what I'm watching when the season starts.
Does the offense, will it look different with him? I mean, he's certainly more of a dual threat than what they had last year. I mean, how many new wrinkles do you think he sprinkles in?
Yeah, I think it will. And Jedd Fisch has kind of hinted that they studied a lot of different NFL offenses. I don't know necessarily NFL offenses or, dual threat guys in college who succeeded in the NFL, and what did they run and what worked for them. I think you'll probably see more read options, certainly in the red zone where they were not good last year. That's another weapon. Jedd Fisch, even in the times they sprinkled Damon Williams into the game as a backup last year when Will Rogers was still starting, said, yeah, I like the idea that the defense has to account for another gap when he's on the field, that the quarterback is a threat to run. With that said, I'll believe that a Jedd Fisch quarterback is going to have a ton of designed runs when I see it. I don't think that they want him getting hit a lot. Sure. That's the franchise right there. So it's a lesson on his part of slide, get out of bounds, don't absorb a hit. But I also don't think they're going to be dialing up like double-digit design runs for him every game. I think they're going to do it enough to maintain the threat, do it enough to keep the defense honest. I think where his mobility really changes things is in the passing game. He can use it to get out of the pocket, and he can use it when drops back. Oh, I'm unaccounted for. They forgot about me on this play, 30 yards. So I think it will be different, that you'll see a little more design quarterback run game. But I think they see him as a really potentially elite passer too. So I don't know that the core principles you want to mess with a whole lot.
One of the biggest probably off-season acquisitions, I guess, or recruitment efforts was probably retaining Jonah Coleman. They get him to come back. What are the expectations now for Coleman now in another year under Fisch at UW?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it was pretty impressive to look back and see that he got 1,000 yards behind that offensive line last year, right? So much was made about all this patchwork O-line, and this is so clearly their weakness and where they need to get better. And then you look and their running back had 1,000-yard season. So, I think he's probably aiming his sights a little higher than that. A lot's been made this offseason about his body transformation. He dropped a good bit of body fat and really focused on conditioning and nutrition. And he didn't miss any games last year, but there were definitely some fourth quarters where after you didn't see him a ton, and then afterward you'd hear Jed Fish say like, yeah, like we're kind of, we're managing something with him. Like I think he was banged up and playing through it, which a lot of guys are, but I think his goal is to really stay healthy and durable, and he wants to be faster. Right. Like he already was pretty explosive last year, but he wants to be able to finish those big runs and, not get caught from behind and all those sort of things. So I think he looks faster. He's already pretty quick. He's a guy who's always had good vision. With the weapons they have, with Damon Williams being part of the run game and them really liking Adam Mohammed too, I don't know that they need to put like a whole lot more on Jonah Coleman's plate from a workload perspective, but I think he wants to be in position where there's no reason why they can't.
What do you think as they get ready for the Colorado State in year two, Christian? What worries them? Where they look at this squad and go, yeah, we might be a little deficient right there. We need to get better in that particular area.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would have liked to seen more from like the edge rusher group this camp, and a lot of that's due to injury. I mean, Russell Davis II, who really like exploded in the UCLA game last year, had 3 sacks and a forced fumble, and he had a patellar tendon injury during the summer, and he's out for the season. So that was a big blow. Isaiah Ward, who led them in tackles for loss last year, has been out the last couple weeks with a sprained ankle. They do expect to get him back. It's just we haven't really seen him a whole lot, and is he going to take that next step? Zach Durfee is kind of the X factor there. Guy the Husky fans have been hearing about for a long time, but haven't gotten to see a ton. He only played 6 games last year. He had a turf toe thing going on both feet, had surgery. He's looked good this camp. You can tell they're trying to manage his reps a little bit too. But he's the one real potential difference maker out there. And they got some guys, Jacob Lane, good spring and a good camp. He'll play a lot more. But just in terms of like portal upgrades, I think they're better on the interior D line. That's another question mark, though, of just like how's that all going to come together? Is that going to be like a top tier, the Big Ten caliber group? But they didn't go out and get that like veteran stud pass rusher type player, at least at edge rusher. So I think there's some potential there, but that's a group that I've still kind of got my eye on. Like, is there going to be a difference maker step up on the edge?
Okay, I ended the segment there with Jamey Vinnick, a Coug fan, with the same question. It's early, whatever. No one's going to hold it against you unless you get it right. If you nail this, then we will bring it back, and we'll bring you back on and say, listen, this guy knows everything about Husky football. Record, what do you think they finish with? What's your best prediction?
I've been kind of waffling between 7-5 and 8-4 all off season. I feel like playing the schedule game, what should they do? You could get 8-4 fairly easily. But then it's like, in the history of college football, how many teams have gone chalk? How many teams have avoided kicking one? That was the remarkable thing about the 2023 Huskies, right? Was that they put themselves in position to have many of those type of games and manage not to.
Yeah.
So I'll probably leaning more towards 7-5. I do my official schedule prediction next week, so if it's 8-4, then don't yell at me. But
okay, not gonna yell
either
at you.
7-5 or 8-4.
And you can read that on his terrific website that he's been doing on Montlake, on montlake.com. Also, YouTube channel is now up and running. It's great on Montlake there as well. So if you're a Husky fan, you want to subscribe there to Christian's work. You can also follow him on X at Christian Caple. I appreciate you carving out the time. Good looking Tacoma Rainiers hat. Tell the wife to get you another one. Get some Husky colors. But appreciate the time as always. Thanks, Christian. All
right, appreciate it, Puck. Thank you.
There's our Northwest football preview after fall camp has wrapped up. Big thanks again to Jamey Vinnick of CougFan.com. Also, Christian Caple from On Montlake. And again, his website, onmontlake.com. Also, check out his YouTube page on Montlake for the very latest from practice. He's got interviews up there, coaches interviews, player interviews, and even recaps practice notes up there on Montlake there on YouTube. But with the season just around the corner, Huskies open up with Colorado State, then the Cougs get Idaho, and then it's San Diego State, and then it's the Puppies of Washington. The Apple Cup playing there in September, but the football schedule next week, right? I think next week is actually the first game of the season. I was looking at it because there's a real early game. Week 1, Iowa State and Kansas State, at least that's the first one of ranked teams, is coming up this Saturday. Unbelievable. Iowa State, Kansas State, the Cyclones ranked 22nd against the Wildcats of Kansas State. That is the first ranked one. I don't know if that even the first game. That is, in fact, the first game. And then we get Idaho State and UNLV, Fresno State and Kansas, Sam Houston and Western Kentucky. And then the, I guess, nightcap would be Stanford and Hawaii. 4:30 on CBS. So coming up this Saturday, college football invades, and it already starts. God, it's getting earlier and earlier, isn't it? Too early. Big thanks to all of our guests today. Just a reminder, Jim is just traveling. He'll hopefully be back on Wednesday, maybe, if not Wednesday, there on Friday. But Tim Booth, detailing his trip to Williamsport to cover the Little League World Series Classic. Also, Bill Krueger, his weekly old school baseball podcast segment with us. And then, of course, our Northwest football preview with Jamey Vinnick and Christian Caple. Big thanks to everyone for jumping on today. All right, in other news, before we wrap it up and we give you a Hey, What the Puck, in other news, well, this is a big one involving your Seattle Seahawks. The Bengals apparently are listening to trade offers for defensive end Trey Henderickson. Yes, please. Tom Pelissero reports Bengals want a player in this year's upcoming draft and a younger player. He just said player in general. Reportedly, they turned down a second-round pick and change before the draft this year, but they wanted a first-rounder. Pelissero reporting the price is now softened, according to him. He has not missed a game in the last 2 years, where he has compiled 35 sacks. He's earning a base salary right around, I think, $15 million, cap hit around 18.6. He'll be 31 on December 5th. John Schneider loves pulling off big trades. He is not shy about doing it. Will this be one that he will try and pull off? Maybe it could be in addition to Cheddar Nwosu coming back, or just like, we don't think he's actually going to be able to contribute for us this year. But he likes splashy trades. You can always use more defensive ends, all right? You can't have enough pass rushers in this league. There are a lot of aggressive teams. Bengals don't like to trade. And we've got a GM that is not bashful about making huge trades before a season. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Victor Robles ejected from a game in Tacoma last night for throwing a bat and other stuff on the field. He threw the bat at the opposing pitcher. He was hit on the foot. He's been hit like, my God, every time I look at a clip on Mitch's burner account, Mariners Minors, there is always a clip of Victor Robles in his rehab start of getting hit. He's getting, like, every time he's up there, he's getting hit. He's expected to be, nothing official yet. I haven't seen anything yet, but he will be suspended. And that suspension comes from Major League Baseball. And assuming he serves that at the Major League level. So maybe his return to the Mariners could be delayed. In other news, the AP has named their all-time college football All-Americans today. I mean, it's hard. You're picking the best of the best. So there's always going to be some debate. Tim Tebow was selected as the quarterback. I mean, he was unbelievable in college, and it's a college thing. It's not what you did in the pros. It's college. Okay. I get it to a degree. I got to give some more thought if I could find a better quarterback than Tim Tebow. Not many, though, at the college level. Randy Moss and Larry Fitzgerald at the wide receivers. Just give you some of the prominent positions. The running backs, they nailed Barry Sanders and Herschel Walker. I'm too young to really say Herschel Walker. I saw Barry Sanders, though. Phenomenal. Sebastian Janikowski over Jason Hanson. No way. Jason Hanson is like the best kicker of all time in college. Go Cougs. Jason Hanson should have been over Sebastian Janikowski. Interesting. No Steve Entman. Surprised that no Steve Entman didn't make the defensive tackle list. The two DTs are Ndamukong Suh and Bronco Nagurski. It was 12 sports writers, AP sports writers who covers college football that selected the team. The qualifications that you've had to been an AP first team once, but no one represented from our two schools. Browns quarterback Dillon Gabriel, kind of in some hot water, needs the Puckett crisis for him. He clarified a comment he made during a preseason game on Saturday, saying it was not a dig at his teammate Shedeur Sanders. It most certainly was. He was asked during the broadcast about tuning out the noise surrounding the quarterback situation. The competition says, yeah, it's just part of it. You know, there's entertainers and then there's competitors. I totally understand that. He says, no, it wasn't a shot at him. I mean, come on. Of course it was a shot at Sanders. But I get why you had to clarify it. Oh, that's not going to go well over in the Shedeur Sanders camp, by the way. Neither of those two were named the starting quarterback. Joe Flacco was named the starting quarterback today, and it's going to be interesting to see who they keep. Dillon Gabriel looked good this past weekend. Sanders looked good in the debut. Do they keep Kenny Pickett as the backup? But most certainly a dig by Dillon Gabriel towards Shedeur Sanders, and he's right. Lastly, Seattle Storm, big ceremony yesterday, very cool. They unveiled a bronze statue of Sue Bird yesterday outside of Climate Pledge Arena. Looks wonderful. Sometimes they don't get these statues right. I think hers looks really, really good. Well-deserved. Just an amazing, accomplished athlete, men or women, sports. She's one of the best of all time. And very cool to see a statue outside that arena. I love it. I love more the statues, the better. If you've ever visited, I know it's a different sport, but I'm tying it in. If you ever visit Target Field in Minnesota, and there's probably some other parks that do this, they do such an amazing job of celebrating their past with statues. Kirby, Puckett, they've got a bunch of them. It's so awesome to see. And I love the fact that the Climate Pledge, they did it with Lenny Wilkins, they did it with her. The Mariners have obviously done it with Junior and Edgar, Niehaus and Ichiro coming up. I'd love to see the Seahawks. Why don't the Seahawks have not done something as amazing to me? There should be one out there of Largent, Cortez, maybe Walter Jones, like the one you see in the airport of Walter Jones. And the tip, there should be a statue of the play that they made in that game. It's the most iconic play in Seahawks history. I'd love to see the Seahawks get in on it. I'm not sure why they have not. All right, that's in other news. We do it every single day. It's just some stories that we miss, so we try to get caught up on before we take off. All right, before we go, Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. It's a restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Tim Booth talked about this earlier, and I agree with him. A lot of it gets made of, I'll say the corruption, but the unsavory nature sometimes of youth sports. But what we saw this weekend, what was highlighted on Sundays, the very best of the collaboration of youth sports and professional sports. And Major League Baseball just knocked it out of the park. How they treat the Little League World Series and that relationship between the two is just special. You saw those kids just clamoring over those players. And kudos to the players, all of them, for both the Mets and the Mariners, for giving back to these kids and understanding they used to be 12 years old once. And to all the players that sat and talked to those kids, hung out with the kids in the buses, in the stadium, to Randy Rosarina and Andres Munoz of going to speak to Team Mexico, and Brash and Josh Naylor did it with Team Canada. Just a moment those kids will never forget. For professional athletes, sometimes they're so far removed from what it was to be a kid, they forget those moments. But none of those players yesterday, and great job by the Mariners and Mets, none of those players yesterday forgot what it was like to be a kid. And no one exemplified that better than Julio. No one. That guy plays like just a kid. That's what makes him so refreshing in this sport. And to see him up there on the hill, despite security guard Pam almost taking him out, he was living his best life, taking pictures, hanging out with kids. And that's what makes that sport so special between kids and the ball players, baseball. No one does it better. No other sport can capture what baseball can capture. Well done by everyone involved. Hey, What the Puck brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Make them your first call on those damages affect your residential or commercial property, 206-817-8917. Visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Thank you for everyone watching and listening today. Thank you to all the sponsors, Limback Lumber, also Georgetown Brewery, Restoration One, Flat Stick Pub, John Howie Steak. Today's Daily Punch Drop, you can find it up on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. Also find the Daily Punch Drop on your favorite podcast platforms and I should say up at pucksports.com. When you're there, sign up to become a member of the Pucks Posse for as little as $5 a month. You support all the free content and daily shows that we do. Plus, we give you added bonus shows throughout the week. Sports Pit with Steve Sandmeyer, Matt Stretch Johnson comes out tomorrow. Our MLB Insider show with Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times on Wednesday, and KJ Arntz with Mitch Levy, host of the Mitch Unfiltered podcast, coming out on Thursday. Find everything up there at pucksports.com. All right, that's it for us today. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Tomorrow, we've got Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio. He'll stop on by. John Canzano's college football is here this week. John Canzano from johncanzano.com. We'll get you the latest there in college football. We will talk to you at 10 for another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. Until then, as always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!